What is over confirmation? That is when you're over aiming at a target. So at a given distance, difficulty, a target, you're spending too much time refining your sight picture more than necessary in order for you to hit the intended target area. People might call that over confirmation, over aiming. Typically people think in terms of a time thing. They think they need to go faster. That's not really the way to fix over confirmation, is to think in terms of pacing. I think you're going to find that counterproductive. And what I mean by that is, if you have the idea in your head that you need equal height, equal light sight picture, just like that, or your dot needs to be stopped, stable, look like a red dot as opposed to a streak or a squiggle or something like that. If you're in the mode where you make your sight picture perfect, then you pull the trigger, then you make your sight picture perfect, then you pull the trigger, and you have it in your head, I just need to do that faster in order to get better. Like, I'm gonna keep practicing and I'll get faster at that. That's not really gonna happen. You don't need to think in terms of pace. You need to think in terms of process. There's a lot of different ways to confirm your sights. Pranka would call these different aiming schemes that you can apply, and then you want to apply the appropriate aiming scheme for the target that you're shooting. The first thing that you need to do is understand these different aiming schemes. So let's say if I'm going to shoot my tablet here 5 yards away, what aiming scheme would I need to get away with hitting it? Hitting it anywhere. I don't give a shit where I hit it. Like, just hit it. Based on training and experience, I could tell you if I see red squiggle anywhere in here shooting a red dot gun, I'm going to hit the tablet. If I see front sight and then I just front sight through the rear sight, or maybe even I can ignore the rear sight and just see front sight flash on this thing at 5 yards, I'm going to hit it. If I'm shooting something small like this at 10 yards, then my dot would need to be stopped and stable, and maybe even set a little bit high on the target area, to account for the offset. If I'm shooting iron sights, shooting this thing at 10 yards, I'd need the sights equal height, equal light, centered on that thing in order to hit it. Training and experience can tell you this. So the first thing to do is to understand what sight picture is going to work at different targets. I recommend set up different targets intentionally. Misalign your sights a little bit, play around, do some experimentation, and you're going to understand what your sights look like in order to hit an intended target area. Another excellent exercise is a confirmation drill that my buddy Juanza came up with. All you do is set a target at any distance. You can point your gun off to the side of the target, point it at the ground, look at the center of the target, bring the gun up, apply an aiming scheme to it, and pull the trigger. Some possible aiming schemes: seeing just the outline of your gun and reacting to that, pulling the trigger. Seeing the flash of color from your front sight or red dot. Okay, if you're shooting iron sights, you see front through the rear, but you don't do anything with the alignment. You just see front through rear anywhere, react to that. Or seeing your sight stop, stable. If it's a red dot, it looks like a red dot, it's centered on the target. If you're shooting iron sights, equal height, equal light, that sort of perfect sight picture. Just start with your gun aimed off the target, look at a spot, bring the gun up, apply the aiming scheme, pull the trigger, and see what outcome you get. The next thing you need to do is get acclimated to applying that aiming scheme. A good drill for this is distance change up. So I put 2 targets at 5 yards, put a head box target at 15 yards, and practice changing between aiming schemes on those targets. A really important way is going to help you move forward as a shooter. The one caution I have for this is when it comes to dry fire. Now, shooting live, you get feedback off the target. You're going to see where your bullets are going. But when you're shooting live, you'll see just like for example, just a flash of red from your dot, pull the trigger, and then the gun goes up and recoil. That's all you see is that little flash of red. It's kind of easy to verify that you're doing that live fire. The hard thing is to just react to that flash of color when you're doing dry fire and not sort of cheat yourself. Good example of this is when you're doing practice with your draw. Like, let's say you have a target set up for dry fire, you draw your pistol, and you have a second beep set up on your timer. You have the par time set. So you're going to draw your pistol and get a sight picture on that target in some time. You hear the second beep go off and you're like, yeah, cool, I'm good, I made it. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll draw the gun, they see the flash of their sight, they hear the second beep, and then they start refining the sight picture further beyond that subconsciously, right? Because they're not firing a shot, they're just aiming at the target. It is easy to build bad habits in dry fire when it comes to conformation. Or another way to put this is you really have to be consciously engaged to make sure that you're applying the aiming scheme you intend to apply dry, or you intend to apply when you're doing dry fire. It's very, very difficult for people to do, and you have to really be on top of it. If you're one of those people who can like pass a qual, or you can shoot the gun slow and accurate, and you're not understanding how to shoot faster, like you're not able to go faster and get good results, understanding conformation is likely a problem for you, and it's something you need to work with. So once again, experiment with different sight pictures, okay, at different target distance and difficulty. Then start applying those at speed. Just simple stuff, one shot, bring the gun up, boom, apply your sight picture. Then get acclimated to it with different targets mixed up in the same scenario or exercise, and then stay on top of it in dry fire. The thing that most people get out of this sort of training, this sort of conformation exercises, is learning to work with just a flash of color off their front sight or their optic for targets that are close and mid-range. When you're shooting like a red dotted handgun at practical distances, most good shooters are going to be just shooting that flash of color out to 12 or 15 yards. That's typically what they're going to do for low risk targets. So it's the in a sense it's the primary way that you're going to aim your handgun. Again, if you're kind of classically trained, that sounds a little bit wonky, but it is how people use those guns if they want to go really fast. Practical shooting training, got drills, live fire drills, some guidance for dry fire, some dry fire drills, lots of different places you can start. It works for people of all different levels. If you want to train seriously with a handgun, especially for competition, this is the one to get.